the Data Platform Women in Technology Virtual Group Monthly Meeting. You can go to our website at dataplatformwit.com and see our newsletter and blog post and all about what we're about. You can connect with us on Twitter and Blue Sky, probably mostly Blue Sky. So, Twitter's called something else that we refuse to use the name of because it's just silly to call it, its name. We probably should change that to a link. We do have a LinkedIn group that you can search for and become part of that we probably should put on there instead of Twitter. So, this coming month, we actually have 2 sessions because we do a session for the European group every quarter. So we have how to get running, start at a new job without getting lost by Els. And I'm not going to try fancy names because I always mess them up. So that is Monday at noon CET, which is really early in the morning for us US people, but that's to help the European people be able to participate more with the WIT group. And then next month on July 8th at noon EST, we have migrating SQL Server to Azure Managed Instance using DMS/LRS by Gilda. So look forward to hopefully seeing you at those sessions. Today we have Dataviz quick tips for inclusive dashboards in Power BI by Paula Esteban. And she is raring to go. She's already tried out her PowerPoints and she's been ready to go. So I will stop sharing and let her proceed with her presentation.
Okay, let me know when you see the presentation.
See it.
Okay, now.
Yep, full screen.
Okay, so well, thank you very much for letting me to share these ideas about data visualization techniques or these quick tips for more inclusive dashboards in Power BI. For introducing myself, my name is Paula. I'm from Spain. That's why my English is not so perfect and the pronunciation is not perfect as good as yours, because it's not my first language, but I will do my best. And if you don't understand anything, please let me know, and I try to clarify or re-explain some concepts or repeat if you need it. The fastest way to define myself is saying that I'm a data lover. What I really like around data is how we can communicate real insights, and in general how we communicate between the business strategy and the data, and how we can get value from the data. So that's why I think I really like this visualization aspect and these design procedures to improve the reports and the communication, and how the business get the value from data. I'm a Microsoft MVP in data platform and artificial intelligence. I'm also a LinkedIn learning instructor. My videos are in Spanish, so I don't know if some of you want to maybe learn some other topics in case you also speak Spanish. It can be also an exercise for you, maybe. And the courses are related to data visualization and artificial intelligence, always oriented in a business-wise manner. And basically, I'm freelancer. I give some trainings, and well, you can find more about myself. I'm in my website, paulagarciaesteban.com, or also in uxforpowerbi.com. I participate in different communities, in different international events. I also participate with a group in Spain that is called Women for Technical Talks. So I invite you also to follow, because we have 2 events. One of them is in November and it's online, and sometimes we host also talks and sessions in English, so you are welcome to participate too. And well, I also introduce myself using this picture. And this makes sense with the general evolution of the session. So please don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not playing Legos, if it's not what I do in my professional career. But the thing is, 6 years ago or 7 years ago, I had to define my curriculum vitae with these Legos. Okay, so that's why what I create with the pieces I have, because I don't have a lot in a lot of pieces during the workshop, and I define my career this way with a creative side, and in the other side with these hard black boxes. And this represents I have studied telecommunications engineering. I'm a telecommunications engineer, but the reality is when I finished my studies, I didn't feel connected to the main opportunities you have when you finish this kind of degree. Okay, so I've been always connected to music, to arts, to this social aspect. I was working with children when I was young, and create activities with children, with disability people, and with a lot of this human side and creative side is something I've been connecting always in my professional career, and now is why I'm focused on this creativity procedures, let's say, and this human touch of the data, but keeping this logical or technological approach to the things I have, or I have developed these methodologies, etc. I will share with you little ideas about that during this session. So that's me, and I know that this can sound a bit crazy, but it's what I am. And yeah, well, let's say things are not going bad with this approach, so why not continue in the direction that makes me happy and that connects everything that has been part of my life. So welcome to this session. I'm gonna make a little introduction and just share with you some data visualization benefits. We're gonna define what is accessibility, or what is inclusive design, because it's different. And then I'm gonna share some tips for creating more inclusive dashboards in Power BI, and more specifically, I will focus on neurodiversity, because I think this is a part that we are not so familiar with. And I really think with these steps, you will not only help people with disabilities or these special needs when interpreting and when reading the dashboards, etc., but in general. So it's a good way to start creating these inclusive dashboards. And then I'm going to share with you a methodology end-to-end, and it's something I use for creating and help companies to develop their dashboards with a proper approach and technological and logical structure to generate these designs for providing more value with the data, basically. The benefits of data visualization include capturing attention and connecting with the audience. I like to share the idea that I'm not painting dashboards because of being creative or to just make beautiful things. We are creating solutions. So it's true that a good design or a beautiful design can help us to connect with the audience, but the main benefit is capturing their attention and guide the user in which part they need to focus their attention and how to read the information we provide. Another benefit is data visualization help us to tell better stories and enable exploration within the data. Then it helps us to identify patterns or outliers more easily. And data visualization facilitates retention through graphical memory. And this has been demonstrated. And this applies to the neurotypical people, but also to the common diverse people. Sorry, because this specific vocabulary sometimes is hard. I'm not a professional of inclusion, or I mean, I've not specialized in neurodiversity, or I have not proper studies on that. I try always to share these ideas in a polite way. So please, if I use a specific word and it's not well perceived, it's not the idea to being perfect, but just share is something we need to take care about. Okay, so at least I try my best to share these concepts in a good way, in a way that I hope nobody feel excluded, because it's not the idea of this session. Okay, and now I usually, when I give trainings or sessions in the community, whatever, I like to make this difference between artists and designers, because an artist expresses and conveys and creates for the sake of the creation itself. But the difference with a designer is that a designer solves a problem. And in this case, when we are creating a dashboard, we are solving a complex problem. And this complex, this adjective is important, because the hard thing is we have so many possibilities with the visuals, within Power BI, all the visuals we have, and all the possibilities we have when we decide where to place the right information, how to structure the navigation, how we create everything. We have a lot of potential solutions. And that's why we need methodology to have a proper guide to create something and to validate with the real users if we are developing something that is useful and we are in the right direction when we design a data solution. And this is why this difference is important. We are looking for a solution, not just putting data there and painting with colors or whatever. We are creating something that is useful in a business-wise manner. And there are so many disciplines around this design approach. And I think it's interesting to share with you that the human side is a key part when we are creating or developing an interface, because Power BI is a great and powerful tool for connecting the origins, the data sources, to develop formulas, to create a model, etc., etc. We already know that, but when we are creating the dashboard, the interface, we need to be aware that there are human characteristics that are relevant, because it's the way the user will process all the information. And in this part, in this, let me get laser. In these sites, we have the human information processing, we have language, we have communication, we have interaction, and it's something super important now, because has been already communicated that soon the user will be able to put data and to modify the origins in the data when interacting. So we need to be aware of all these interaction capabilities we have within Power BI, but also how is it connected with the human side. So we need to take care about how we put the buttons in a way that the user understands this is clickable, or is a place where they will potentially interact and put more information. And this part of the communication is key. And also within this human-computer interaction, that is a multidisciplinary field, we have the use and the context with the people, with the human-machine fit adaptation, the application areas, the social organization, and how the teams work. But we have also here evaluation techniques, design approaches, how we can implement these techniques with the tools and these limitations. Power BI is not perfect. We cannot create everything we want, but we need to really understand the possibilities to get the best of Power BI for developing new dashboards. And the idea in general is we need to at least be aware of this human side. I'm not saying we need to be a psychologist or something like that. I'm not a psychologist, but I just feel curious about that, and I try to learn and apply and connect the dots between Power BI, the data, the strategy in the business, and how the people will understand everything around the data and how I can use these capabilities or these properties of the human processing information to make the best. Okay. So now about accessibility, we are going deep in the accessibility around dashboards. And one thing I like to share is well, this is an image that comes from Microsoft, and it enhances the idea of that we can have accessibility needs or special characteristics in the users that can be permanent, temporary, or situational. And we don't have to focus only in the people that have visual problems related to the see. No, we can have blind people, people with cataracts, but also we can consider temporal accessibility characteristics that will affect, for example, if you have a bad contrast. Sorry, can you mute your mics? Thank you. We need to focus on the visual characteristics and consider these people, but not only think about colorblind people, because we have much more characteristics that affects in how we interact with the data. Okay. So particularly, it's true that within Power BI, we have this high contrast mode that helps people with visual characteristics that needs help, or this high contrast mode. The screen reader we have in Windows works perfectly. We need to set properly some characteristics of the visuals, for example, including descriptions, etc. But it works. And also Power BI is prepared for assistive devices. That is good. But I'm more focusing now in neurodiversity, because it's the way there are people that thinks, perceive, and learns differently than the majority. The difference we make between neurodivergent people and neurotypical people is the way our brains process all the information is different, and we need to include those people that can have more difficulties when reading, when interpreting, when perceiving the information we want them to read. Okay, so this refers to a big spectrum of conditions, and the problem is well, we have not exact figures on how many people are neurodivergent in the world. Also because the diagnostic modes are not clear, or there is a lack of communication and knowledge around this neurodiversity word, but they are talking about the 15 or 20% of the population. So in your company, you have a 15 or 20% of your potential users that can have these difficulties, or they need more order or organized information, and we can really make some adaptations in the way we design the dashboards that will help the users to really understand these reports easily. This is well, an image that just mention the different kind of disabilities or diagnostics we can have around this neurodiversity spectrum, and we can talk about autism, but also trauma, these temporary situations, anxiety, bipolar disorder, cultural diversity, dyscalculia, also gifted, have different ways of process how they proceed the information. Dyslexia, depression, auditory processing. I know this is this in theory we don't think about how we heard or if we have some auditory differences, but the thing is when they have these difficulties, it affects also in the way they perceive the overall information they see. So it's something we need to take into account. And what is more important, there's a lot of people with different characteristics. Down syndrome, okay, dyspraxia, we have a lot of characteristics, and the idea is we need to create a dashboard that covers all this reality we have within a company. The concept of disability may have limited the understanding of the need for accessible technology, and this is something was said by Microsoft years ago. Okay, so the idea is not to think about when I have a person or I have a group of people within my company that needs something specific for helping them to analyze the data. The idea is not to create a separate dashboard for them, but go for an inclusive design and go for this definition, thinking about dashboards for everyone, because what is desirable for some of people is essential for others, but what is more important is we can cover with one solution all the spectrum we have. Of course, if there is someone with severe difficulties, maybe we need to think in a specific dashboard for him or for her. But in general, the idea is to generate something that is easy for everyone, and it's more prepared for these human processing ways we have to learn, because this has been in study for years. For example, the picture superiority effect is the phenomenon where information presented has studied the phenomenon where information presented in visual form is more easily and accurately remembered compared to information presented in verbal or textual form. So, and let's connect this with data. We can have a matrix with all the numbers, but the thing is we really remember better the things when we use these visual characteristics. So it's how our brains works. So let's use these characteristics, because this is something we have been using for all our life. How did you study in school? Or did you underline something when you need to remember a specific word, or you need to remember with colors where the things that are more important, or the dates when you were studying history, I don't know, whatever, okay? But using mind maps, these techniques help us to remember. So let's use these characteristics for the users to remember where to click, or remember how to interact, or remember a specific category, because we always use the pink color for a specific category within our business, whatever. We need to understand these psychology rules to really improve our dashboard design. We also need to know a little bit about the pre-attentive attributes: orientation, length, width, size, shapes, curvature. All these things guide the attention of the users in milliseconds. So it's something we can really use to guide the attention of the users, and it works for everyone. It's the idea of inclusive design. So now let's go with the tips and start talking about design within the visuals, the things we can adapt within every single visual to improve it. I'm going to talk also about the general design and the consistency we need across all our reports, our different pages within a report, but also in a workspace, in all our reports, because this structure and this consistency help us to reduce the cognitive load. The cognitive load is the quantity of information, or let's say the the amount of energy we need to put into the plate until the user really understands something. So if we reduce this cognitive load, we are letting him to have more space, more load availability in their memory to really process what they need to analyze, for example. We will talk also about the use of color, because it helps to avoid distraction, and is something very important when people has problems to follow a sequence of analysis, for example, or in their difficulties when learning new things. If we avoid distractions, we will help them to really understand better what they need to analyze. We are going to talk also about logical structure and the navigation and Miller's law, and a little for the end. We will talk also about language or other communication characteristics we need to include in our reports. And well, first of all, let's focus on visuals, and especially let's focus on fonts and contrast. To me, it's something that I don't understand why we don't take care of this, because it's really easy to set up these styles in Power BI, and now we have the labels, and we can generate high contrast for the labels we really want to push or to make the user read before, and create a logical sequence on how they need to analyze. Using this contrast, I hope you focus your attention directly in this high contrast blue with the with this characteristic font. It's more has more presence, and you read and you generate this storytelling. This first you focus your attention here, then you read the profit, but you focus on sales, because I'm aware that I'm pushing the reader to first focus their attention on this tag. Okay, so we can generate structure using fonts and contrast properly, and using this order and this sequence on how the reader should focus their attention, we need to also consider how we write the access or the legends or everything. And it's easier to define a size for titles, a size for the main labels, a size and a specific style for the second information, where we put more more context about the data. And we can use this kind of tips for improving the interpretation of the report. Also, enclosure. This square or this way of mark the space we have for the visual can be more impactful, more contrasted, or more more relevant in graphical terms, or can be soft, just using this different color for the background. And this helps to generate a structure across the whole report. And this order helps also to the user to feel comfortable and to reduce this cognitive load, to have a better understanding of everything, of the elements they have. Okay. Then, for the general design and consistency, I really recommend to work in a design system and develop it once, because once you have your theme, but much more than a theme in Power BI, you just need to apply it. You don't need to think every time you need to develop a new dashboard. If you use a certain color or a certain font for titles, for the labels, for whatever, you have it defined, and you can define the fonts, the structure, the header with the primary and the secondary navigation, the buttons and the states that will help the user to understand if something is clickable or not is something very, very important, and that not always is well. The settings are not always very well set up in terms that the user can understand easily what is going to happen if they click. We can also define how we will place help elements. This is very useful, specifically for this kind of people. And we can have a lot of things defined in this design system that will help to go faster when we define a new dashboard. And well, the idea is to have these first and secondary level interactive buttons using, again, the contrast, the colors, guiding the user attention on what we want. Okay, we can have these buttons in negative using the high contrast mode, let's call it that way, or in a more minimalistic approach. But it's easier for the user when they have already clicked in a menu, in a navigation bar, let's call it that way. They realize if they see this kind of design in another dashboard, they will realize super fast where they need to click if they want to navigate. If we don't standardize it, we will generate him more problems in terms how they will understand the possibilities they have in terms of analysis, navigation, etc. This is about the states. It's very important that we set up the states properly. By default, the on click, when we pass our mouse in the button, because these little details communicates the user that something is going to happen if they click. So we need to spend a little bit of time creating these buttons properly. Okay. Then contextual buttons. We have different buttons and in Power BI, and they are like standards. No, we have the information button, the question mark button that to me reminds me like, okay, this is our help, or I need to click in a question mark if I have doubts generally, no? But let's do better. I mean, we can put this button, but we can also complete the message and make the user aware that if they click, maybe they go to a video or to a search point when we have a definition for the KPIs, wherever. Let's write the messages, because for a new user or a user that has these problems when understanding or memorizing how this dashboard works or not, we can really help them using these contextual buttons also for having more context and providing them more context about how to use it or how to contact the IT team, the developer, if something is not working properly or whatever. We can really help them a lot, spending a little bit of time. This is not about colors, no. This is about providing the proper information when they need it, without loading the quantity of information. We can use this, and apparently we only have a button. Imagine in a corner or in a place that is not very, very impactful within the general dashboard. But if they remember they have this kind of help elements, they will feel secure and they will have a better understanding on how to analyze within the report. Okay. About the standardization of visuals, same thing. It's better if we define a style that is common and generates this peaceful, this calm around the dashboard. For example, to me, this is wrong because it's very dark, let's say. So let's find something that generates a calm space that allows me to read everything I need. For example, here I see France and the date and the data. We have Canada, blah, blah, blah. Here we have the visual we have analyzed before with these labels. I can read perfectly. I can check here the countries, whatever. And when standardizing everything, it helps us to generate this space this professional environment, but at the same time, with this minimalistic approach, we reduce the quantity of information we are processing with our sense, no? So it's more easy for the user to identify what's relevant and focus on the numbers and focus on the proper analysis without being overloaded. Okay, so this is really useful. And what I told you, it having a design system help us because generates more agility in creating new reports, help us to standardize and reduce the learning curve for new reports. That's super important for new users, especially for those one that has problems. Then also generates a department branding, professional perception, and avoid opinions. And I usually specify a little bit about this. I'm not saying we need to avoid opinions from the users, but sometimes it's difficult to have conversation with them and really have time with them to understand their needs, to understand their business goals. And this is really helpful for us developers of dashboards, to understand the real needs in their analysis process. So that's why I said avoid opinions. I don't want to spend time talking about, no, I like purple for this visual, or I prefer this with this square instead of the curve on the angles on the visuals, or focus the conversation on what's really important and not this visual or aesthetics anymore, because once that you have standardized it, it's going to be better for them and also for you, and you will have more time to have real relevant conversation with the business and with the users, and spend this time doing testing, user testing, and checking what's really important in the dashboard, not talking about the colors of a button, for example. More than colors, okay? Sometimes, well, I already tell you that using minimalistic approaches sometimes is good because it's more clear everything, and it's like more calm, and it's better for sometimes a dashboard. But we need to be aware of the possibilities of the colors, and especially the power of white, because we don't have one white, we have more whites, okay? And well, this is the definition. And it's funny, or at least I find it funny, because it's the color of milk or fresh snow due to the reflection of all visible rays of light, blah, 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 blah. I mean, the definition is like open, no? And the idea is, I want to share with you, is we have different whites. And this is very useful to generate and structure in your reports. The definition of white can be no or low saturation. That means the whites are those colors that are here in the center of the cone. With high brightness, because if we go to the bottom, we are moving to the grays or black. But then we have the hue, this part, and we have a circle, the chromatic circle with all the colors. And the thing is, we can have a warm white or cool white, and not just one. We have lots of white. We can classify this as cool white, this as pure white, or this as warm white. Right? Or let's call it gray, but a soft gray. And if you remember this, here we have a lot of whites, blue, grays, okay? Let's use these different whites to generate structures in a layout, okay? How it can do this? This is fast. This is something you can set up in Power BI in seconds. Just need to go to the canvas properties and put a background color. And you need to define your structure and the colors you are going to use, because maybe you are more into warm whites or blue or cold whites. And depending on your branding, you will need this definition to have the proper enclosure. That is a Gestalt principle. This is something that, again, has been studied for years, for decades. So let's apply this in the reports because it generates this structure. And here, just for the sake of letting you be aware of the importance of choosing the proper whites with your theme or your branding, okay? If we have these different logos, that maybe reminds you something, you see that some of them works better with some colors than the others. So you need to choose your whites, okay, or your grays. And well, here I share with you some Power BI examples. Here, for example, we have these minimalistic or these super basic colors because this is the theme that goes that appears by default in Power BI. I'm sure you have worked with this blue, this purple, this orange in Power BI. And look how it changed if we use the same theme. I didn't change for creating this dashboard. I didn't change the main theme in Power BI. And look how it changed the cleaning and the minimalistic approach and how I can improve and focus attention on reading properly the data I want to share with the business and highlighting the KPIs, okay? And we can generate this structure given this shadow here. We see we have a general part when we analyze, but in case we need to set up something, we go to this part, but my main attention will be focused here. And this helps us to generate this clarity and this structure easily. If you look here, we have this button with information and contact details. And if we find a general structure that helps us to, for example, include a subtitle with a little description of what you can analyze, you focus your attention on the title, then on the visuals and the data we have. And then, because the size of the letters are smaller, we focus on the descriptions in case I need it. But we need to generate this structure, this typography strategy to focus on which part we need to show the user where to look at and what to analyze, okay? And again, I'm talking about the whites and the clear themes, but in case we need something else that is more impactful, or for example, imagine you like the high contrast mode, you can also work with these grays or whites the other way around, with blacks or different shadows or different kind of dark tones, and generate also this structure. This is exactly the same report, but this is different. And what is important is the contrast always with the numbers, with the text we have, with the this line I want to highlight because I needed to highlight this, and I use this red for highlighting whatever. If you generate all these standards once, you can replicate and reuse it always, okay? So the idea between light and dark mode is basically the same. We need to find the colors that allows us to generate this structure, and it's very, very important. And as general tips, using colors, avoid distraction when possible. Use different whites or blacks to create the general structure and standardize it, okay? Always use a color with a reason. For adding more info with the colors, for example, with gradients, we can have a third dimension in a visual. With divergent colors, we can highlight or reinforce if a number it's in one side of the spectrum, or very positive or very negative, we can reinforce, but always with a reason. Or we can use colors with categories for adding these legends and categorize certain information. But if you are not doing this, I really not recommend to use colors, or at least bright colors, because you will simplify the 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 data and what's more important for the business and the users. Okay. Then there is another rule also that has been studied in the 80s. And this Miller's law states that the average person can hold about 7 plus minus 2, so between 6 and 9 elements, pieces of information in their short-term memory. What it means, this is our RAM, okay? So we cannot overload a page in a dashboard with a lot of visuals and visuals and more visuals. No, we need to find this logical structure between the different pages for communicate this in a way that they can process, because they really have the possibility of process short pieces of information at the same time. So we need to limit the choices, keeping the navigation menus and options reduced. We need to group information. For example, KPIs. We can put a group of KPIs and we perceive this like a group, a single group. So we have the KPIs, then we have a trend with a line, then a table, and then whatever. If we group information, we also reduce this cognitive load. Using this consistent layout also, it helps to reduce these efforts we need to make in our short-term memory. And please remember about these things, about the visual hierarchy, because we need to we can use the size, the color, and the spacing to guide the user attention. Okay. And this is the last part. It's also important to use clear language and communication. I really recommend to use simple and consistent language across the whole reports and the whole workspaces, if possible. Always using short sentences, avoiding jargon and complex terms, ensuring consistency in terminology across the interface. That is very important. And only use color, images, and visual aids if they make sense and if they help the user, and keeping always this visual hierarchy. Okay. As I told you, this is part of end-to-end methodology. I follow this UX layers approach, and I mix it with methodology that it's that helps me to iterate with the business. Basically, well, I give you this reference in case you want to need more, want to learn more about the user experience and this approach. But what is more important is everything starts from the user needs and the site objective, not site, but dashboard. And the visual design is something that comes at the very end. So we need to focus on the content requirements, the functional specification, the information architecture, and this is not related about your data. No, this is how we place all the pages and how we connect them, and the interaction design, and how we define this navigation, this information design, what I put in the top part of the report or down or whatever, and then we apply this visual design system, okay? Because it's the way to do fast and to focus here, because here is where you provide more value to the business. I go fast. Well, I mix this UX layers approach with a design system because well, it's an agile methodology that helps us to find solutions to complex problems, as I said you at the very beginning, and help us to emphasize with the users and to define, to ideate, prototype, and then testing. This is the end-to-end flow. I know that there are a lot of boxes. We have focused a little bit today in applying on why it's important to have this design system, because it really helps all the users to understand better what they have in the report. And also a key part in this implementation and validation phase, the last one, is OpenAI, of course, apply the design system, having the technical validation, but also the testing, the usability and accessibility testing. Okay, the part of the visuals I show you were part of a project I did with Iberostar, and it's about this design system approach and how to apply this. But I show you because I really explain in this case study all the process and the steps I have followed, analyzing the branding, their needs in terms of reporting, etc. And it's why or how I developed this system without spending a lot of time with them, but helping them to save time when optimizing or generating new reports. So in case you want to know a little bit more about that, and why testing, be clear about what needs to be improved, anticipate errors during implementation. It helps to minimize risk, ensure that what is being should resolve gets resolved, identify how the solution is being perceived, and what's more important, if there is any difficulty in usage or if they need training. And sometimes with these people with different abilities or disabilities, we need to reinforce a little bit the trainings, having videos, having centers or different approach to really help them to get the value from the data. We have to ask, where have we failed, and understand what we need to improve, but also what have we done well and what we can standardize. Again, because the standardization is very good for the users, for everyone. And I really recommend to have a feedback loop with the users. I think we have 5 minutes. I don't know if there is any question, but the idea is you can have an approach that follows this methodology, and the rest is business as usual. When you are connecting the origins, when you are validating the metrics, etc., you can keep working on that, and at the same time having this kind of methodologies helps you to identify with the real final users their needs, their objectives, and generate these prototypes during the process, validate with them, iterate in the designs, and it's a way to deliver a better solution at the very end and faster, because you don't wait until the very end to create a design, and it's something you have already worked with the business, so you can deliver fast and then iterate, because a dashboard is a live project and you will have new requirements, UX improvement, bugs to resolve, changes in the business, whatever. So we again need to iterate, validate with the business, and having this testing approach to really improve and help the users to get the best from the data. And well, this has been all. I want to finish with this quote from Tony Blair. Good design is not simply about aesthetics or making a product easy to use. It's an essential part of the business. And this is not about doing beautiful things or creating beautiful reports. It's an essential part for the users to really have data solutions in their companies. It's been a pleasure. We can talk whenever you want in LinkedIn. Here my website, and I don't know if there is any question. Thanks a lot. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Paula. That was awesome.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. If anybody
Thank
has
you.
any questions, you can put them in the chat.
The part about mind mapping and underlining things really spoke to me as a neurodivergent person. I was like, oh God, she's talking about me.
Yep.
There are a lot of things we have used for all of our life, but then we don't apply it in Power BI, and it's why. Use color with reasons and help the user to highlight what is important, etc. Yeah.
100%, because you, as you mentioned, you really reduce that to load on you. So I love that you called that out, because all the time I'm like, okay, I have to constantly context switch. It's slowing down my productivity. And if I just have things color coded, I'm like, okay, now I know what I got to do. And it just makes it easier.
And the reality is we are all stressed in our daily basic. We do a lot of things, and the final user has other problems apart of reading our beautiful report. It's not about that. They have a lot of things to do, so it's better if we help them to order the information and simplify the processes, etc. Yeah. Well, hope you like it, and I think there are not questions.
No, you got a couple of claps I seen come up in the people's boxes, and Deb had to drop, but she says it was a great presentation. There goes another clap. So
Done. Well done.
we appreciate you taking the time to present to us. It was a very good presentation. I learned a lot of stuff. So I'll have to do better with my colors.
I participate a lot in different events, some of them online, but well, I try to participate more in international events. So if you are interested in this data visualization tips, this has been connected to this neurodiversity, etc. But I generally share these ideas of these different approaches of design around Power BI, if you like it.
All right. Julie's raised her hand, so it will come off mute and ask away.
Hi. I've been developing a theme file, as you recommended, to standardize across reports. And I have found it to be so incredibly hard. Just the documentation of how to create a theme file and how to specify certain properties that, like in the UI, in the formatting panel, it'll have one property name, and in the theme file, it's a completely different name. And it's impossible to tell, like, what is a subtotal, what's a row total. Just wondering if you have any resources for that to help that.
No, the thing is, they are already reviewing that part. It's in the roadmap of the product, because it's a public roadmap, and I think they will improve this JSON file format, whatever. I don't know if in 1 year, 2 years, maybe we have it. But my recommendation there is not spending a lot of time on the JSON file, because it breaks a lot, and it didn't work. Don't work as they are supposed to work. And the thing is, there are a lot of characteristics or the features in the visuals. They are already changing. So I think there is like this is disconnected, because the evolution of the interface is faster than the JSON file format. And my recommendation is to have the different visuals or the styles predefined in different PBX files, and copy and paste the styles. It's my approach, and it's why I create these design systems, because I generate the materials where the developers can copy and paste from the general style and adapt the different reports. So it's the trick I have. I don't know if it helps you, but you can check the because it's exactly what I did with this customer, to generate these materials to allow them to do this faster without copying size by side, color, and and it's a way to do faster. It's not perfect, but sorry, repeat.
What case study are you referring to?
One I have in the website. I don't know if I don't have the available chat. But if you go to ux4powerbi.com, or you follow me on LinkedIn, I can share it with you if you want.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Did anybody else have anything?